Dia sampai ke dalam tu.
Dia pakai masuk dalam tu sekarang ni ada yang jenis macam lollipop tu
Hei, lollipop ke tak pop ke tadi memang rasa macam kau buat apa dengan hidung aku? Keluar jugalah air mata kelakian tu kau macam apa. Okay, let's continue this. Okay, alright. So today is multivariate analysis. So we have started dengan last week kita buat bivariate, and then seminggu sebelum itu kita buat univariate. Alright. So I think you can see the difference lah. Uni is 1, bivariate is 2, and multivariate is we are talking about more than one variable lah. We are interested in more than one variable. Okay. So we are going to start with an example first to get you to understand what are we looking at in multivariate. Okay, so multivariate is what you are going to look, what are you interested in looking for multivariate. So dalam multivariate, we are trying to see a group of variables, beberapa variable yang connected. Alright, so we're going to start with an example, and then we are going to see what actually are you doing in multivariate, what are the objectives, and then baru kita akan masuk what is multivariate, and then what can multivariate do, okay, what does it do, and then we are looking at methods and the types of techniques which are available inside multivariate. Can you just hold on for 1 second? Ada orang kat rumah. Sekejap hold on.
Sure.
Sorry dah, ada jiran datang. Semua letak barang ni. Okay. Okay, so and next, once we have done that, we are going to talk about the techniques. Di sinilah kita akan belajar, atau kita akan highlight the techniques lah yang biasa you dengar. PCA, factor analysis, multiple regression, discriminant analysis. Ada banyak lagi, tapi these are the 4 most common or useful techniques that you will be using, and I'm sure you will be using in multivariate analysis lah in your PhD nanti. Alright, and then these are some examples, and then we are going to talk about multiple ataupun short form dia multi-regression. We're going to talk about again regression to what is regression, and I'm going to show you a small example menggunakan Excel, how do you do correlation and regression, and we're going to talk about discriminant analysis yang akhir sekali. Alright, so let's start with talking about the example here. Okay. Dengar kan saya? Suara saya dengar kan?
Dengar doktor, jelas.
Dengar.
Okay. Alright. So the example here is a doctor has collected data on cholesterol, BP, and weight of several patients lah. She has also collected data on eating habits from the subjects. Okay. So dia dah tanya dia dah tanya patient dia how many kilos of red meat, fish, and dairy products and chocolates is consumed per week. Okay. So based on this, right, she wants to investigate the relationship between three measures of health and eating habits. So eating habits is over here, EH here, and she wants to find out what is the relationship. Okay, what is the relationship between here? Is something of this going to happen? That means adakah ini will affect this? Okay, maksud dia can we say if a person's blood pressure is high and the weight is high and the cholesterol is high, his eating habits will increase or will be high as well? Or maybe can we say that some people macam ada yang kurang makan, kurang kolesterol, and orang kurus pun eating habits dia mungkin kurang, ataupun mungkin the cholesterol is low, BP is high, weight is low, but the eating habits is also high. So we want to find out what is the relationship kat sini. And we also want to find out, mungkin doktor tu nak find out among this data sini, BP, cholesterol dengan weight, which contributes the most to your eating habits. So this is an example of where a situation we want to use multivariate analysis. So kita dah ada, kalau kita ada dua, then we go for bivariate. Tapi kalau kita ada tiga, then now we are talking about multivariate analysis. So in multivariate analysis, we want to see which of the variables contributes the most. Itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, we are also interested in the relationship between BP, between cholesterol, between weight, and we are also interested in the combination of this relationship. That means high BP, high cholesterol, high weight, would it be giving a high eating habit? Ataupun maybe there is another variable yang kita tertinggal. Mungkin BP ni tak seberapa, mungkin cholesterol ni tak seberapa, or mungkin weight ni tak seberapa. Ada another variable. So we are not sure. So that's why we do a multivariate analysis. Okay. And another objective of why you want to do multivariate analysis is you want to reduce the number of items in the variable. So you use a technique called PCA, which we are going to cover soon. Okay. So data reduction is normally used or normally to reduce the number of items. Items di sini bermaksud the questions lah. Okay. So sometimes, let's say you want to study the performance of an organization. Okay, performance. So mungkin you jumpa dalam literature ada satu questionnaire yang uses about 10 questions to evaluate organization performance. Alright. So maybe you don't need 10. Hanya sekadar 5 sahaja dah cukup untuk to show that to study organizational performance. So you use the technique called data reduction, iaitu teknik principal component analysis, to find out maybe this can be reduced, and once it's reduced, then you can do a better study. Okay, a better study. Normally we use a PCA in two scenarios. Mungkin kita akan pakai dalam senario pilot study. You do the pilot daripada 100 soalan, kita dapat PCA, and then we find out rupanya tak perlu pun 100 soalan, hanya sekadar 30 soalan sudah cukup untuk find out. Okay. Next, we are also looking at grouping. Which of these items can be grouped together? Okay, we can group together. Contohnya, balik kepada organizational performance. Let's say we have 10 items, 10 items. Alright, 10 items, 10 soalan. Maybe by doing multivariate analysis, we want to group them together sebab performance ini berbeza. There are some organizations which declares performance as bonus. That means the higher bonus, performance is good. Or maybe some organization kata organization performance is equivalent to company profit. Okay. Kalau you pergi kedai runcit, performance may be jumlah barang yang dijual. Okay. So walaupun each and every of this is talking about performance, tetapi performance ini berbeza-beza in different types of scenario. If you're talking about health issue, performance, mungkin dia boleh lari laju, mungkin dia boleh buat push up lebih, so that's also performance. Tapi in organization performance, if the company is giving more bonus, that is also one part of performance. Kalau company itu jual banyak barang, that's also part of performance. Okay, so there are a few types of performance, and so dalam teknik multivariate analysis, we want to group them together. Alright. Investigation of the relationship between variables. Okay, so kita nak buat prediction. We can do prediction. Example of prediction. We want to predict, or we want to test our idea, predict a student's success rate in universities based on their SPM score. So we want to find out, or we want to find out our prediction, adakah betul if a student yang dapat 10A in school, chances is he will do well in university. Chances is. So we don't know. Mungkin tidak, mungkin ya. Okay. So we want to find out if this is possible. And next, lastly, we want to do hypothesis testing. So if you want to do hypothesis testing, then you surely are going to do multivariate analysis. So multivariate analysis. Okay. So what is the multivariate analysis? So multivariate analysis, point number 3, analysis of more than 2 variables. So bivariate analysis, you're studying 2 variables. Okay. Univariate, you're studying 1 variable. But multivariate, you're studying more than 2. It does not mean 3. It can mean 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. Okay, so on and so forth. It does not matter. Dia kiri kanan boleh. Dia dependent pun boleh banyak variable, atau dependent pun boleh banyak variable. Tidak. It's not a problem. Okay. But what we want to study is we are looking at more than 1 variable. So suggest that we can use multivariate analysis to elaborate bivariate relationship in order to answer the following question. What is the relationship between 2 variables that exist? What are the mechanisms and process by which one variable is linked to another? How is cholesterol and weight linked to each other? Not only we are looking at independent and dependent, we can also look at between the independent. Balik pada slide nombor 1 tadi, we can look at weight against weight against cholesterol, weight against cholesterol, or weight against BP. So maksud dia, we can also look at sini ke sini, sini ke sini, sini ke sini. Pun boleh juga. Okay, so we can also look on this side only. Okay, we can also look on this side only. Boleh. Okay, and we want to look at the nature of relationship. Is it a casual or non-casual? Adakah dia terjadi macam tu ke, ataupun non-casual means it happens only at a certain time, or it's not happening all the time, but it happens only at a certain time. Okay, you get happy at year end, you don't get happy at awal. Okay, you get happy on Friday, you don't get happy on Monday. Macam tu. So, okay, so is it every day macam tu, or only at certain? Are you happy all the time, Monday to Friday, or maybe only on Friday, or maybe only on Wednesday? So, kalau it happens all the time, that means it's a casual lah. Okay, non-casual meaning ia mungkin terjadi only at a certain point of time, only at gaji day, only at certain scenarios, only at certain conditions only. Okay, how general is this relationship? Does it hold for people in general or specific to certain subgroups? So can we generalize this? Based on slide number 1 tadi, can we say this applies to everyone? The eating habits, weight, cholesterol, and BP, does it apply to everyone? Or maybe it only applies to the Japanese people, the Americans. Sebab Americans, saya fikir Americans suka makan banyak, diorang minum air gas banyak. But the same scenario does not apply, or the same variables does not apply to maybe orang Jepun yang memang sedia kala kurus. Okay, so maybe it does not, you cannot generalize this. Or maybe we cannot say student performance kat sekolah akan buat bagus di universiti. You cannot generalize that. Okay, you cannot generalize that. Maybe it can show you something, but you cannot say everyone yang siapa yang dapat 10A kat sekolah, they will do well in universities. You cannot generalize that. Okay, so daripada multivariate analysis, you can identify, it enables you to identify 4 things. Okay, spurious, saya tak tahu sebutlah. Spurious relationship, intervening relationship, replication, and specification. Yang nombor 3, nombor 4 senang. That means whatever daripada slide nombor 1 tadi, diagram tu, you can replicate in different countries. You can replicate in different scenarios. You can replicate in different different countries, different state, different daerah. You can replicate the same thing. If you're doing a study for SME, you can also use the same diagram, the same study, the same method for non-SME companies. Okay, that is replicate. Or is specified. This is only for SME. This is only for PFI project. So you can also find that out in multivariate analysis. So what is spurious relationship? Example of a spurious relationship can be seen by examining ice cream sales. The ice cream sales might be highest when the rate of drowning in the pool is highest. Apa kaitan dia? Kalau orang drown dekat pool, tiba-tiba dia kata ice cream sales tinggi. It does not make sense. Why does it show that? Okay, to allege that the ice cream sale causes drowning would be to imply a spurious relationship between the two. Ini secara kebetulan sahaja. Sebenarnya there is another Okay, so sebenarnya there is another relationship which is called the high temperature. So actually sebenarnya what you are studying tu, there is another variable which is here. That is why bila high temperature kat sini, ice cream sales high, and bila high temperature orang suka pergi berenang, maka orang akan drown. So this variable yang you jumpa ini is what we say as a confounding variable. Macam orang beli barang kat Shopee. Okay? Orang beli barang kat Shopee. Bukannya dia nak beli barang kat Shopee tu. Okay? But it's because there is another variable which contributes. Mungkin dia peer pressure. Mungkin dia tengok Azira tiap-tiap hari rumah Azira ada JNT datang. Side pun pressure, dia beli barang. Tapi dia bukannya nak sangat barang tu. Tapi sebab dia pressure, dia tengok, oh Azira tiap-tiap hari ada JNT, esok Citylink, dia pressure, so dia pun beli barang. So pressure is what causes site to buy something. But actually, he does not need it. But because of the confounding variable, which is called the pressure, so that's why he buys it. Okay? So to say Syed buy something from Shopee is wrong lah, because there is another variable actually which forces him to buy it. Okay? So heat wave kat sini causes both. The heat wave is an example of a hidden or unseen variable. This is always happening. This is something unseen. Okay? Or people, another example, pakai Shopee juga. Another example, why do people like to shop in Shopee or online shopping? It's not because that selain daripada senang, selain daripada murah or all those things, is because people trust the website, trust Shopee, trust Lazada, trust tu dah sedia ada kat situ. Orang tak pernah tanya pun, tapi I'm sure all of you trust the website. because you have already been shopping it for some time and trust element is there and you just buy it lah. Okay, you beli je. Kalau anything, kalau you nak cari anything kat rumah, first thing is pergi kat Shopee, pergi kat Lazada, check the price. How much is it? Oh, okay, harga dia banyak ni. Okay. Even kalau you pergi, let's say you awak nak beli aircon, for example, aircon kat rumah. Kalau pergi kedai is 1,400. Pergi kat Shopee mungkin 1,000. Oh, so you know lah. Oh, okay lah. Kalau Shopee 1,000, tapi mungkin kena pasang sendiri, kena add another few hundreds. Oh, okay lah. So orang kedai is selling at 1,400, realistic dah harga dia. Okay. So this is what is happening in what we say as spurious relationship. Next is we can also identify intervening, a variable that helps explain the relationship between two variables, bonus payment and productivity level. There is no direct link between bonus payment and productivity. Tetapi because bonus, bila you dapat bonus, your motivation goes up. Bila motivation goes up, then your productivity goes up. Okay. So, in other words, kalau kita pakai example Shopee tu balik, okay, if your trust level goes up, the more you will spend on Shopee. So now trust is always there, so you will spend more. So intervening variable is something in between to help explain the relationship between bonus and productivity level. So this you can discover using a multivariate analysis. Okay, and then replication. The relationship is replicated or repeated under different conditions. Example here, the same variable or constructs or questionnaires can be used in a different country or organization. So you can replicate the same thing in different places. This is very important when you're writing your conclusion. You want to generalize. Can you generalize? Can you say all PFI companies will come through this situation? Can you say all SME companies in Malaysia will do this? So can you replicate? Can you do it the same? That means you try it. Kalau kat sini boleh, that means semua company ni boleh juga. Okay, so this is what it means by replication. Or specification. Relationship only appears in certain specific condition. It only happens if, where. It only happens where. No replication is possible only in certain types of condition. You cannot replicate the same study is in a different country, but if the same condition happens, then you can apply. Okay, or maybe this study is only suitable for Malaysia, is only suitable for SME Malaysian companies, is only suitable for small companies having less than 500 workers. So it's very specified. That means you're very focused on your study. Okay, so these are the types of things that you will understand through multivariate analysis. So spurious, intervening, replication, and specification, you will use these terms masa you buat your conclusion section. Daripada result to conclusion, this is where you can determine. This is what you will find. So this is how you are going to conclude and say that yes, we believe that we have strong proof to say that this study can be applied to other campuses, can be applied to other schools. Okay, so some of the multivariate methods is you analyze the dependence, sebelah kanan, or the interdependence, daripada you look at the interdependence. Okay, interdependence sebelah kiri lah, dependent yang sebelah kanan dah. Where one or more variables are dependent variables. Okay, so you can use multiple regression, PLS, and all those things lah. Okay, or we look at no variables. Huh? Okay. Okay, nanti dia record. Dia ada kelas. Dia kena call best friend dia. Support group hari ni.
Faham.
Dia kena call best friend dia pula. Okay, so so we are looking at, kalau interdependence, we are looking at balik pada slide pertama, weight, BP, cholesterol, and BP. So what is the relationship between them? We are not looking at dependence lagi. Kita tengok antara dua orang pula. Ataupun pada example favorite saya, antara puasa, makan kurang, dengan apa tu, ada satu lagi tu exercise. What is the relationship between them pula? What is the relationship between them? So we want to see what is the relationship between this side. Okay. So there are few techniques that you can use. Ini gambar, saya pun tak tahu saya letak gambar ni. Kasih gambar happy-happy sikit lah. Okay. What are the types of techniques that you can use? Paling favorite or paling insyaAllah you akan guna is PCA. Principal Component Analysis, Factor Analysis, multi-regression atau multiple regression, and Discriminant Analysis. Okay. Combines our input variables in a specific way, then we can drop least important variables while still retaining the most valuable parts of the variable. You have 10 questions, but you drop 5, and whatever 5 you are remaining to is good enough to explain about something. You have 10 questions about performance, but once you do your PCA, you find out that it is enough for you to retain 5 questions, and 5 lagi ni you can drop. Tak membawa sebarang, that means it's already explained. Cukup hanya 5 soalan ini, you can explain performance. Boleh. However, let's say Azira does a study today. She wants to investigate SME punya performance. So she finds from the literature, she finds 15 items. Okay, so she studies. And lepas dia buat PCA, she finds out that cukup hanya sekadar 6 questions. Maka dia dah drop lah baki tu, dalam 9 soalan dia dah drop. Okay, dia dah drop. A year later, Anas comes and he wants to do another study. Oh, ya ke? Can you give me 2 minutes?
Sure, Doktor.
Sure, Doktor.
Nak kena call Azma. Okay. Okay, so Azira started with 15 items. She found out that performance or SME only uses about 8 items, so there are 6 items. So there are drop about 9 items. Okay, fine, no problem. Okay, so 6 items. A year later, and the following year, Anas comes in and he takes 6 items. He finds that tak cukup. He can add more. Or he finds out that in his study, 6 items is still more. He can drop another 2 items. Boleh tak masalah. Okay. So it could be untuk Azira. Okay, untuk Azira cukup hanya sekadar 6, but Anas finds out that it's not enough. He needs more. Or he finds out, he can be two conditions lah. He finds out that more than 6 is still more. He finds out only 4 cukup saja. So you can also do it in that way juga. Okay. So an example would be like this. Example of principal component analysis. For a bank to give you a loan, they need all this information. Mereka perlukan income, education, age, berapa lama you duduk situ, berapa lama you dah kerja dengan company tu, berapa banyak savings you ada, berapa banyak utang you ada, and your credit card. But these are the information that they use to ask the customers, for the customers to apply loan lah. Tapi this bank officer kat sini is now going to do principal component analysis. She wants to only know which among daripada item ni or daripada item-item ni mana yang can explain 90%. Maksud dia, she has 30 applicants, okay, yang dah submit semua ni, and which of these items is enough to explain 90% of the person punya 90% of the person's loan, 90% of the person punya qualification, loan qualification. That means tidak perlulah you ada semua item-item ini, but you only need certain items to say that he is qualified for the loan. Okay, macam kita hantar kat bank lah, I mean the same thing lah. Kita hantar semua, kita hantar IC kita ni semua. Tapi actually when the bank processes your application, they are only looking at 3 items, which most items. They are looking at your mungkin your savings, mungkin your credit card, and mungkin your utang. So they're looking at this. Tapi they are not looking at other things. They're not. So these 3 items can explain 90% dah. So kenapa Azira pilih 6 items is because 6 items is already explaining 90% of the performance. 90% of the performance. That means kalau ada more pun tak guna dah. If you have more items, dah tak guna. She only needs 6 items. Tapi Anas pula kata, kenapa nak 6 items? Sedangkan in his study, 4 items is good enough to say that performance is 90%. He is good enough in 4 items. So it could be in that way juga. However, principal component analysis also applies to also needs a good number of respondents. A good number of respondents. If you have a higher number of respondents, then you will get a good PCA. That means you will get a good numbers lah, a good value. Tapi kalau you ada 30 kurang macam 50 or less, then you will find it difficult. Okay, then you find it difficult. Okay, so if you have a good number of sample size, a good number of respondents, then your PCA will be different. Okay, that does not mean PCA yang dibuat oleh Azira menggunakan 100 orang salah dan Anas punya PCA menggunakan 50 orang tu salah. Tak, it does not mean that. It means that, you know, if you have a higher number of respondents, it's better to do the PCA will be better lah. Okay, so PCA punya objective ialah to reduce the number of items. Why do you need so many items? That is why PCA is always used dalam pilot study. You always do PCA analysis in your pilot study to reduce your items. Because dalam pilot study, you akan buat 60, 70 items. But again, you have to imagine, bayangkan, kalau 70 item, satu soalan itu takes about half a minute. So kalau 70 item, kalau 1 minit 70. So bahagi 2, 30. That means orang tu akan menjawab soalan you, tak kira lah dalam kertas ke, Google Form ke, for 35 minutes. So that's going to be very long. Siapa yang boleh spare 35 minit? It's very long. So you have to imagine, kalau you dapat soalan pun, kalau kita dapat soalan pun yang selalu dapat dalam email kan, 35 minit kita macam terbuang lah, even though we have 35 minutes, but siapa yang akan jawab 35 minutes of questionnaire? So that is why we use PCA to reduce your items, okay, dalam your pilot study, so that when you do your main study, your items are more compact, it shows better value, and the items have reduced tremendously. Okay, next we do factor analysis. Okay, this again is to reduce the dimension. Okay, so dalam factor analysis, there are 2 things that we need to look at: reduce the dimension and maybe the questions that you ask mean something else. Contoh macam ni. Let's say we are looking at performance, balik pada performance. Kita tanya, salah satu soalan daripada performance itu ialah, sebab some companies evaluate performance as good management. If the management of the company is good, ia menunjukkan bahawa performance company itu bagus. Okay, right. So this is your question, Syed. Okay. So bila Syed buat test tu, bila Syed buat survey, and when he runs factor analysis, he finds that soalan management itu does not fall under performance. It falls under a different factor. It falls under factor yang dinamakan management. Oh, then what does that mean? That means soalan management dalam performance, walaupun saya ingat soalan-soalan management ini berkisar pasal performance, actually when the respondent reads the question, he or she feels those questions reflect to management. So rupanya apa yang saya ingat berbeza dengan apa yang responden ingat. So those questions can be grouped into one category, a different category. Okay, so that is why when you run factor analysis, kita letak je soalan berterabur macam ni and let SPSS detect which question belongs to which category. If contohnya verbal IQ ni 7, 8, 9, bila you run your factor analysis dalam SPSS, if this question falls under verbal IQ, what does it mean? It means apa yang kita fikirkan sama dengan apa yang responden fikirkan. Okay, we want to test verbal IQ. So inilah soalan-soalan dia. So responden pun jawab. Lepas tu you buat factor analysis inside your SPSS, and these three items fall back under verbal IQ. It means that responden faham soalan ni berkisar pasal verbal IQ, and we have it statistically proven yang soalan-soalan ni memang berkisarkan pasal verbal IQ. Okay, so that is what you're trying to do with factor analysis. You're trying to reduce and you're trying to find out whether these questions belong to the same factor. In multiple regression pula, sorry, do you have any questions? Sorry, saya tak sempat tengok. Kalau ada soalan, tolong signal lah, angkat, klik kat button dulu ya. Hello. Okay tak semua di sana?
Ada.
Okay. Tengah dengar. Khusyuk Okay, alhamdulillah. Macam ni lah kita harapkan. Okay, sekejap saya nak break. Saya bukan break, saya nak tekan escape sekejap. Dah pukul berapa ni? 8. Okay, sekejap saya nak tengok WhatsApp message. So kebetulan pula malam ni ialah malam test untuk budak diploma. Kita tengok. Okay, very good. Okay. Oh, KL cuti alhamdulillah. Okay. Maksud dia okay. Maksud dia tak ada orang komplain, tak ada student yang komplain, maksud dia test boleh berjalan. Okay, budak-budak diploma ni lain pula lah. Kita bagi has any one of you buat quiz buat test dalam Google Classroom ke?
Saya guna UFuture.
UFuture? Saya selama ni memang all this while pakai UFuture.
Saya pakai M-Team.
Sebab I find it very tedious lah UFuture ni. Bila kita upload soalan dalam PDF, lepas tu diorang download, diorang buat, diorang upload balik. Lepas tu jenuh kita nak saya beli tablet yang boleh tulis kan. Jenuh dan nak marking kat screen kan. Pening kepala kan. Nak marking satu-satu. Astaghfirullahaladzim. Yelah kalau dulu manual paper lah kan. It's so difficult. So I'm trying to use Google Classroom this time. Tengoklah macam mana, belum jadi lagi. Hari tu saya bagi satu assignment. Nampak macam jadi. Dia boleh buat rubrik kat situ. And then bila you baca, kalau you kata 2 marks, saya klik je 2 marks. Automatic dia calculate lah. So tengah testing lagi lah macam mana. How is the outcome. Okey, itu selingan sahaja untuk hari ini. Awak semua dah makan kah? Puan Lilis dah makan dah?
Dah, kenyang.
Dah. Alhamdulillah. Ini yang kita harapkan. Cik. Syed dah makan dah?
Sudah. Alhamdulillah.
Terbaik. Jadi. Okey. Multiple regression. The goal in regression analysis is to develop a statistical model that can be used to predict the values of dependent. Okay. Based on the values of at least one independent. Okay, faham, eh? Also enables to determine the effect predictors on the dependent variable. Di sinilah kita nak tahu the relationship, okay, dalam multiple regression ini. Okay. For example, to predict plant growth based on soil characteristic, type of plant, amount of rainfall, and average daily temperature. So we want to predict di sini, we want to find out the plant growth. Plant growth is your dependent variable, and you have soil as your independent, type of plant as your independent, amount of rainfall is your independent, and daily temperature is your independent. So we want to find out antara semua ini which contributes the most, which contributes the least, and what is the relationship between this. Regression means functional relationship between variables, also used to do future prediction. And then versus dia ialah correlation dalam kategori R. When you see R tu maksudnya correlation lah. Measures the strength of the linear relationship. Example, kita boleh buat dalam Excel lah. So you boleh ada function ini dalam Excel. So these are the sales of the ice cream temperature pula. Ice cream when the temperature is this. So ini temperature, ini dah musim sejuk ni. Okay, 14 ni. Okay, so on first date, day 1, temperature banyak ni, ice cream sales dia banyak ni. Day 2, 16, 6.64, sales dia tinggi sikit, and then so on and so forth. So when we show a correlationship, when we do a correlation, we find that the correlation is 0.96. Okay, so this is how you do it dalam Excel lah. Dalam Excel pun boleh buat correlation. Okay, so you do correlation between these two items, you find that there is a strong correlation, meaning to say there is something strong between temperature and ice cream sales. Ada benda tu. Okay. Regression pula benda yang sama. Saya pakai apa tu? Excel. It gives me bila you come to regression, you're looking at your R. R is 0.9 untuk ni is 0.917. 0.9717 bermaksud 92% of the variance of ice cream sales is explained by the temperature of the day. Okay, bermaksud 92% of the sales of ice cream is explained by the temperature. Okay, so meaning if the temperature goes up sikit, it's going to affect the sales by about 92%. Okay, 92%. Okay, so this is how you do it. So this is what it means by regression pula. Always remember, kalau regression, we're looking at R. Okay, so you can call. Okay, nanti dia di call. Okay, best friend dia tak call lagi. Okay, so we are looking at R square. Okay, R square. So nanti you boleh balik ni, you boleh try ya. You can put down these numbers in in Excel, and you will choose this data analysis. You click dekat data analysis, you choose apa ni, regression kat sini. Okay, you select all and then you click on regression. Okay, so the closer the number to 1, it means the better regression. Maksud dia it better fits lah. Maksud dia it's what is it? It shows a better number, meaning to say it shows a higher value. Okay. Any questions before we move to the next one?
Tak ada lagi.
Belum lagi insyaAllah.
Belum lagi lah tu.
Okay. Discriminant analysis. Okay. A discriminant analysis, okay, baca yang bahagian atas tu maksud dia. Terus for example, a doctor could perform a discriminant analysis to identify patients at a high or low risk for stroke. The analysis might classify patients into high or low risk. Okay, so discriminant analysis ialah a part of multivariate analysis whereby we want to just make sure that the items dalam performance is discriminant against something else. Okay, maksud dia items 6 items yang Azira jumpa dalam performance is about performance, is discriminant. Berbanding dengan benda lain, dia akan low kat situ. Okay, that means if you're doing weight, blood pressure and also cholesterol, item dalam kolesterol itu memang untuk kolesterol. Dia tidak akan bercampur dengan item weight or item BP. Okay, so the questions on BP, the questions on weight and the questions on cholesterol is under that as well. Dia bukannya berterabur. That means it's discriminant. Okay, so kalau doktor ni dia perform discriminant analysis to identify patients at high or low risk, the analysis might classify patients into high or low risk based on personal attributes. Okay, that means whatever the doctor studies, it belongs to that patient only, that category. Dia tak boleh macam data itu, we're talking about walaupun patient itu high tapi dia punya body mass tu low. Tak. It belongs to that only. Okay, that category. Maksudnya kalau you in another words, if you're looking at group of students, you bagikan group A, group B. That means group A punya students 10 orang ni, tak akan ada satu student yang duduk di group B. That is discriminant. So each student is in group A is discriminant over group B. That means the questions in this variable is discriminant against the other one. So group ini memang belong kat sini saja. It does not belong in the other group. That is discriminant analysis. This is what we use multivariate analysis for. Okay. So dalam teknik multivariate analysis, four things have to be performed. Okay. You have to do your PCA, you have to do your factor analysis, you have to do your regression and discriminant analysis. Bukannya you buat satu tinggal satu. It does not work that way. You have to do all this. Okay, you kena buat satu-satu. Tapi yang you akan report cumalah you have to report everything. But apa yang nak buat dulu? Which one do you want to do first? Okay, normally kita akan buat discriminant analysis, and then we are doing factor analysis, and then we do PCA, and then last kali kita buat multiple regression. Okay, when you do multiple regression, data you sudah dikecilkan, question you sudah dikecilkan, and then all your items are well in place, kita buat semua dah. Okay, so multiple regression normally is the last stage lah. Okay, last stage. So normally we do multiple regression during our pilot study and actual study. Cuma in your case mungkin pilot study tu you can also do PCA as well. Okay, PCA. And can you do PCA on your final study? Boleh, tak ada masalah. Okay, boleh juga, tak ada masalah. It could be item situ mungkin dikurangkan, it could be item tu mungkin ditambah. Okay, but sometimes let's say you have 10 items dalam performance study. Bila you buat PCA untuk pilot study, you kata 6 items sudah cukup. But you are confident mungkin ada 8 item. So you can simpan 8 item ini, masa you buat final study, tengok ada tak bezanya. If there is a difference or sama, maka you boleh drop. Maksud dia betul lah, pilot pun 6, actual study pun 6 item. But tiba-tiba masa pilot tu, masa actual study, you dapat 8 item. Then you can say that, oh mungkin pilot tu orang tak faham soalan dia ke apa ke, so you retain the question. Semua orang macam pengsan kat situ tu.
Ada.
Ada.
Okay, digest. Okay, do you understand?
Setakat ni boleh faham lagi.
InsyaAllah.
Cuma tengah memikirkan what kind of analysis tu nak tally balik dengan objektif.
Yes.
Objektif.
Yes.
Macam kalau saya punya objektif ada to see the relationship between ada my IV and DV. But then macam itulah itu objektif yang nombor 3 lah. Itu objektif nombor 3. Cuma nak tahu juga mana ada keperluan tak, sebab ada keperluan untuk analysis before to see the relationship tu kan. Multivariate tu untuk in terms of in between the IV tu tadi tu kan. Untuk mengukuhkan kita punya hipotesis lah. Itu tengah fikir balik tu. Sebab kalau tengok dalam, tak tahu saya punya apa tu, dalam framework tu dah ada lah line-line tu kan. Tapi macam untuk tengok balik tadi, macam adakah macam keperluan untuk tengok factor analysis pun satu hal juga tu. Sebab hari tu ada berbual dengan apa tu, Dr. Aslili.
Okay.
About SEM lah. Structure equation modeling tu kan. Sebab dia kata kalau ikut saya punya framework tu, memang dia kata memang kena buat SEM, tapi sebelum SEM tu dia kata ada yang kena buat CFA confirmation. Lepas tu dengan lagi satu apa sebelum tu? EFA ya.
Exploratory.
Something macam tu balik. Tu macam benda tu tak test lagi lah dekat dalam apa tu SPSS, tapi cuma macam itulah tengah masih lagi brain balik tengok daripada objektif tu kan. Untuk faham the clear overview purpose dengan objektif of that analysis tu lah, untuk kepada kita punya objektif kajian itu.
Actually when you do EFA and CFA, sebenarnya kalau saya pakai software Smart PLS tu, you are actually doing it. Nak tak nak pun you akan buat juga tau. It's not that you want to do it. You automatically will be doing it juga, EFA tu. Automatically. Secara tidak langsung memang you akan buat. It's not that you okay, let's do it. When you run when you run MOS ke, when you run Smart PLS untuk SEM, secara tidak langsung you will get these two answers already. You akan dapat dua-dua jawapan tu. So that is good about SEM ni, sebab you tak nak pun benda tu akan keluar, jawapan tu akan keluar di situ. Cuma you have to structure which answer matches which lah. Maksudnya macam tadi tu saya buat regression tu kan. So why do you use that? Kenapa? Which part do you need to report it? So sometimes you can also do macam supervisor saya dulu, masa buat pilot pun dia suruh test power on SEM. He asked me to just test it on SEM juga. Walaupun it was not a necessary thing, tapi he asked me to test it and keep it letak tepi dulu. Okay? He said, the data would not be right, tapi he wants you test dulu and keep it, simpan tepi dulu. It is not for you to report it dalam, he did not suggest lah. Tapi saya pun tak pernah jumpa any study yang dalam pilot pun dibuat SEM. Tapi he said he said it is good to do it and simpan tepi. So masa you buat your actual study, you buat SEM, you compare. Just to your comparison, macam dapat tak value yang lebih kurang sama. Tapi you only report yang final lah. Yang pilot punya SEM tu you simpan tepi je lah. But betul juga when I agree with him, because masa pilot tu when you run your SEM tu, you find that macam there are certain things yang you perlu tambah, certain things yang you perlu tolak, and what you can expect lah. Okay, this is going to happen, because you have to be quite vary juga sebab once you dah collect your final data and katakan there is some dispute, something left ke, memang it's quite impossible for you to go back to the person and say, oh ni, can you please answer, or
Buat balik semula. Jawab semula.
jawab semula, or something tertinggal, or it's going to be very
Memang tak ada.
so when you do your pilot study tu, saya cadangkan kepada semua orang buat je SEM tu, walaupun memang saya tak pernah jumpa pun, mungkin ada, tapi as far as I know there isn't any pilot yang ber-SEM. Tapi you do je, buat je. Is for two main reasons. Satu is when you do your final, you get the you can compare. Satu lagi for your self practice lah. For your self practice, macam you try, you buat, and then kalau salah you buat lagi, so that bila dapat actual result tu dah pandai lah, dah pandai sikit lah, terus buat. Because this is what happened on my side when I did my pilot tu ber-SEM tu, memang salah banyak, and then I did it over again, and then I got there, orang kata you dapat benda tu, so bila you dapat your actual study tu, dalam 2 minggu tu you can complete everything because you consider expert lah, sebab you dah try hari tu kan, you dah bega-bega, you dah ni semua, you dah expert, and then you be good. So your pilot tu is very very important, and then macam who is your pilot respondent is also good. Contohnya kalau saya ambil, so I'm just thinking about PFI lah. Okay, kalau PFI tu you boleh ambil engineer PFI, or you can take profesor yang terror pasal PFI, or you boleh ambil Dr. Karizam sebab dia pernah duduk dalam meeting PFI. You can take anyone who has related experience dengan itu. So if you're doing building conservation, for example, you're doing building conservation, so your final is you akan jumpa conservers semualah yang pada luar lah. But for your pilot, you boleh ambil Dr. Sabriza because he has experience. Even though he's not on a private sector, but he has experience in building conservation or things like this. You boleh ambil pensyarah-pensyarah yang ada. So you just have to report lah. He has 10 years experience, orang-orang yang hebat, macam tu lah. You boleh ambil. Or you can take among yourself pun boleh. Mungkin Anas ada experience, boleh ambil dia juga. Because you want to see that soalan tu valid. And kalau Dr. Sabriza faham, or orang lain faham, so you can see the private people will understand lah. The actual people will understand.
Yep, insyaAllah. Thank you, Doktor. Cuma, but one more thing about the pilot tu. How big is the respondent, the sampling tu? Is it dia ada certain ni ke? Macam contoh kalau sekarang ni kalau saya tengok dekat dalam saya punya study, saya tengah tengok dekat Krejci Morgan and juga Slovene punya calculation tu about the population. But when we try to run the pilot tu, how big kita punya population tu?
Kalau guna buku HAIR ni, HAIR, HAIR says one question you need to have about 5 people.
5. One question.
One question, minimum of 5 lah. Tapi that is quite impossible saya rasa. Sebab kalau soalan kita dalam kategori 50 soalan, mana nak cari 250 orang punya pilot kan? Or jangan katakan pilot, where are we going to find 250 respondents? I mean, unless your respondents are students tu mungkin lah. Kalau students tu saya rasa boleh lebih pada macam kita, we are close to students, so boleh dah dapat kan 250. Tapi
but from professional susah tu.
Professional susah.
Very
kalau professional susah lah, sebab kalau student senang lah. So for tak payah sekejap nak guna toilet pun bawa phone, ya Allah. Nak pergi toilet pun nak cakap dengan kawan dia nak pergi toilet. Okay. So, okay. but as far as I know, based on my I think if you have 30 to 50 people for your pilot study is more than good enough. Tak kira lah dia punya soalan-soalan itu. Tapi these 30 to 50 people ini should be valid lah. Bukannya kita ambil anyone yang ada experience ke apa. I mean if you're doing about let's say building structure, so you take people who have experience, retired pun tak apa, professors, people who has experience in terms of even PhD students pun tak apa, tak ada masalah. They have experience in this, boleh je, tak ada. Because di samping kita nak tengok the validity of the question, we are also looking at whether orang faham bahasa. These are the things that we want to understand.
Right, sure. Thank you, Doktor.
Yes, snowball method, yes. That means from one to another. Saya bagi kat Anas, Anas bagi kat someone bagi kat Anas, someone bagi kat someone. Boleh juga. You can go on. I give it to you, and then you maybe you recommend another person. You recommend another person. It goes on and on lah. But it's not recommended you use that method for. It's not recommended if you use that method for actual study lah. Okay. Actual study tu you dah determine snowball method tu boleh for actual study, tapi it should be macam what you say, I want to study on software engineers dalam kat Intel. Okay, saya nak study software engineers kat Intel. So I give it to one software engineer who gives it to another software engineer. Itulah. That means dalam profession yang sama. So I use the snowball effect, and then dia mencari software engineer yang lain. That is okay. Tapi kalau you that is okay. Tapi if you start one and then it goes haywire, then it's not recommended lah.
Doktor.
Yes.
Boleh Doktor repeat yang multivariate analysis method steps tadi? Mula-mula discriminant analysis, lepas tu kedua yang tadi Doktor cakap tadi.
Mana tadi ya? Here we go. Okay. So when you do your techniques ni, okay, you should start with your yang ini patutnya last, multi regression ialah last kali. Okay. So this is step number 4 lah. Okay. Step number 3 will be this, PCA. Okay. And step number 1 will be factor analysis. So bila you buat factor analysis, automatically you akan buat discriminant analysis. Okay. So step 1 and step 2 is the same. Maksud dia jawapan itu boleh diguna pakai jawapan itu.
Hi, Mommy.
Okay. So step 1, so factor analysis and discriminant analysis can be done together. Okay, can be done together. But selepas itu you buat PCA, and then finally you do your multiple regression. So the number is 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, thank you Doktor.
Okay, any more questions? Yes, Cik Anas.
Doktor, saya ada satu soalan sebab lepas doktor dah explain berkenaan dengan yang multivariate analysis tu, Saya punya research berkenaan dengan daylighting strategies, which is adalah beberapa strategi yang saya akan gunakan untuk universiti punya building. Cuma saya nak buat analisis tu agak confused lah. Sebab yang sekarang ni saya nampak analisis tu between daylight strategies tu dengan ukuran cahaya daylight factor, and also berkenaan dengan masa maksudnya pagi ke petang ke tengah hari kan. So maksudnya saya punya kemungkinan besar saya punya kita panggil apa, dia punya graf tu dia akan ada 3 lah kan doktor kan.
Correct.
So dia akan jadi multivariate analysis lah, tak kisah dia jadi macam XYZ ke ataupun jadi graf garisan ke, itu
It doesn't matter.
okay.
Tapi Anas, on that point and everyone, memang you akan buat multivariate analysis. At our level ni, kita akan buat multivariate analysis because I'm sure you will have more than 3 lah, or more than 2 variables. So multivariate tu memang sedia ada lah. Okay, that kita kena memang letak dalam kepala kita, memang akan ada begitulah. Okay, cuma some of you, sebab dulu saya pun terfikir, adakah akan ada semua orang yang buat hipotesis? Tak. Some of you will not do a hypothesis, and that is not wrong. If you just want to study the factors, you just want to study the variables involved, itu sahaja. But you're not saying that one is better than the other, or this will cause that. Tidak. Okay, you just want to study the factors, you just want to study the input and the output, itu sahaja. Boleh, tak ada masalah. So if you're not doing a hypothesis, tak ada masalah. It's okay, boleh je. Because memang pada awalnya saya memikirkan dalam field information system tu memang ada hipotesis. Kami memang suka hipotesis. Saya pun tak tahu kenapa kami suka hipotesis. But it's not the case here. It's not the case. Don't worry. If you do not have a hypothesis, it's not the case. Boleh je. But you can expand it lah. Later kalau you nak tulis paper, boleh je expand tu. You can say that one particular variable tu will cause this positively effects ke apalah, boleh. Salah. Anas sejuk ke di sana, Anas?
Aircon.
Oh,
Kat Cameron tu, Cameron.
Cameron.
Tak boleh kelas face to face dah.
Last week saya pergi Cameron tu, memang boleh tahan lah.
Jam lah.
Hujan. Hujan and jam.
Jam.
Jam to go.
Jam. Bayangkan pasar malam tu, nak queue masuk pasar malam. Queue pasar malam. Sampai saya dengar orang-orang tengah beratur tu, ini pasar malam je kan? Macam pasar malam je kan? Macam beratur tu. Anas ingat tak? Dulu, area pasar malam tu rumah-rumah orang asli. Pernah tak buat program student yang banyak deal dengan orang asli? If I'm not mistaken, masa zaman dulu kita buat program untuk orang asli di Cameron, dekat area bukit tau. Ada bukit tu banyak orang asli duduk. So now it's totally dah clear, apartment kiri kanan, berumah and pasar malam. Tapi memang jam tu biasalah, macam tak ada sayur kat bawah ni kan.
Sayur dan niaga lah.
Beli sayur tu macam tak pernah jumpa sayur kat bawah ni kan. Macam, oi, carrot. Carrot je bang. Beli sayur tu macam, lepas tu macam nak masak esok pun. Okay, any more questions? Puan Nazira ada soalan? Okay. Alright. I have one assignment yang saya pun tak tahu soalan tu kat mana. Tapi saya terpaksa bagi satu soalan. Dalam beberapa hari ni saya akan bagilah. Soalan tu tak ada salah, tak ada betul. I just need your understanding sajalah. Just need your understanding. And bila saya bagi soalan tu plus 5 hari daripada situ lah. 5-6 hari je lah. Okay. Soalan tu you hantar through email. Saya akan email you semua soalan tu. Maybe saya akan WhatsApp you lah kot soalan tu. I don't have your email address. Tak apalah, saya akan mungkin saya letak dalam future ke apa soalan tu. And you just email me the answer. There's no right or wrong. It's just to ask your understanding saja. Okay, it's just to ask your understanding and maybe one question with one question which I need you to come up with some variables lah, itulah. Okay, itu saja. Okay, so itu bahagian saya lah. So my contribution is that bit, and then campur dengan Prof, and then dengan siapa seorang lagi tu, Prof Dr. Shikin. Dr. Shikin ni lah. So more the contribution lah, and tukang naik markah will be Dr. Shikin. Biasalah kita bagi orang lain lah. Dia akan LE 15 lah. Alah, ada pun 5 orang, 6 orang. Okay.
4 ni.
Sorry?
4 orang je sekarang.
4 orang. Tak apalah. Okay, any questions you have? Ada lagi soalan-soalan yang nak tanya saya? Okay, jangan risau. If you have more questions, please feel free to ask me. If saya tak tahu jawapan dia, saya akan cuba carikan jawapan dia lah. Okay. Sebabnya not all answers, I mean bukannya semua jawapan saya boleh answer, tapi it will be good. I mean sometimes it's a learning process for me as well dengan soalan-soalan yang you ada. Okay, so I think you are in the midst of doing your DRP ke dah tengah buat your proposal lah kot? DRP is end of next semester ke?
This semester. End of this semester.
Oh, end of this semester. Okay. So you're in the midst of tengah baca buat proposal gitu-gitulah. Okay. Alright, that's good. So tak apa, continue. It was fun teaching all of you. Fun teaching, mula-mulanya kita bermula daripada 6 dan kita berakhir dengan 4. That's a good number. Okay. So thank you so much for attending my class, and I hope you have learned as much as I have from all of you, and I hope to see you do well in your proposal, and do ask me questions kalau you have any questions nak tanya ke apa ke, no problem. Kalau tak faham pun ask me. Yes, slide tadi ada dah, baru upload tadi. Is there? Do ask me if you have anything. Kalau tak faham ke, tanya. Kalau dah faham pun nak refahamkan pun tanya juga, no problem. Because as you start now, you have things in your head. You dah ada sebelah kanan you dah ada proposal tengah dibikin. Sebelah kiri ni you ada this statistic, and then you akan belajar qualitative pula. Okay, so you have that. So you have to juggle up macam mana nak buat benda ni. Okay, don't be too ambitious. Itu juga saya belajar daripada my PhD dulu. Like my supervisor said, kita bukan nak menyelesaikan masalah dunia. We are not trying to solve the world's problem. We are trying to solve a small problem which can contribute to the world. Itu we are trying to do. Itu yang kita cuba buat. Okay? Memang saya tahu perasaan tu kalau boleh untuk mencegah lah, untuk menyelesaikan masalah dunia ni kan. Tapi try to keep it as small as possible. Okay, try to keep it as small as possible, as focused as possible, and insyaAllah, I'm sure you all will be doing fine. Okay, memang PhD ni is a journey. It's difficult, memang saya akui benda ni susah, tapi berkat kerajinan, terpaksa kita rajin. Spend time every day for yourself to do your PhD. Bila rasa pening, tinggalkan, pergi tengok wayang ke, pergi buat benda lain ke. Okay, pergi belanja supervisor makan ke apa ke, pergi minum kopi ke,
kopi mesin.
Kopi mesin ke, and then come back. Okay, every day spend ikutlah 2-3 jam ke apa ke, spend on yourself only. On yourself only. If you can do that, insyaAllah you'll be fine. And I respect all of you yang buat yang buat part time ni, because you have hal-hal duniawi nak fikir, hal-hal kelas nak fikir. Yalah, because ini you masih seorang pekerja dan juga seorang ayah dan juga seorang you are a student juga, so you have to juggle all three. Kenduri kahwin pun kena pergi, lepak pun kena lepak kan, assignment student pun kena grade, FYP student pun kena grade, so there's so many things for you to do. But I'm sure you will do fine. You just have to spare some time on yourself saja. On yourself maksud dia kena buat jugalah. Nak tak nak kena buat juga. And believe me, insyaAllah 3 tahun 4 tahun ni akan berakhir and habis dah. Orang kata nak turning back tu siapa suruh buat PhD? Macam tu lah. Siapa suruh gatal jadi lecturer? Ni lah dia. Itulah dia. Dulu orang suruh kerja bank tak mau. Alright. Okay, thank you so much. Any more final words? Final questions?
Doktor, boleh ke share recording, Doktor?
Boleh. I will share today's recording. No problem. Yang lain tu, I think saya dah share dah dalam future dah ada. Okay, dah ada dah. Belum. Where did I share it tu? Oh, ada dalam future ada. It's inside the
future ada yang YouTube punya tu.
ada. Okay, ada itu kan. Okay. Alright. So hari ni nanti saya akan buat dia punya link lah. Okay. Alright, thank you so much and I'll give you your your assignment bila-bila nanti lah. Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Assalamualaikum
Doctor.
warahmatullahi
Thank you so much.
Terima kasih, Doktor.
wabarakatuh. Salam.
Salam.